Well, meantime, while we continue this debate over whether schools or parents know what's best for children, the Fox News at Night Common Sense Department went back and reread an article from April of 1930, written by Eleanor Roosevelt when she was still teaching, 3 years before she became First Lady. The article was titled, quote, "Good Citizenship, the Purpose of Education." It's easy now to dismiss the article as a thought from a different era, except the latest Fox News polls released today show that 70% of voters think schools need more discussion on being a good citizen. As Common Sense has pointed out, in these polarized times, 70% is a big number. I mean, we can't get 70% of us to agree on the color of an orange, and yet citizenship across all political stripes is priority one. And guess what else voters want schools to emphasize? Reading, writing, math, and science, all of which polled above 50%. Do you know how many voters want more attention on sexual orientation? 23%, 2 out of 10. And yet it continues to dominate the conversation among governors, school boards, and the media as if it was the most pressing issue. Well, it's not. Common Sense thinks maybe it's time to get back to basics. Instead of constantly raising hell, maybe we coalesce on raising good citizens. Let's bring in Parents Defending Education President and founder Nicole Neily and El Cajon, California Mayor Bill Wells, also running for Congress. Great to have you both on. I just want to point out to you first, Nicole, because, we want to talk about sexual orientation and not about citizenship. It tends to kind of be pervasive in the media and all these debates, but you can see that people don't want to talk about this stuff.
Absolutely. We hear from the media that it is a matter of life and death to have drag shows in elementary schools when, it is a zero sum. Our children are in school for 7 or 8 hours a day, and every hour that is spent on identity politics, on race and sex, is an hour that's not spent making up this learning loss, teaching reading, writing, and arithmetic, skills that will help children thrive in life.
And we've drifted, Bill, so far away from reading and writing and math that we find it tough to get back on track.
Oh, absolutely. And people want to have control over their own kids' education. There's a poll that I read recently that said 78% of Americans want to direct their own kids' education. And that's not just Republicans, that's Republicans and Democrats.
Yeah, I want to go back, if I can, to the gender identity battle happening in Fairfax Public Schools in Virginia. Here's a member of the Independent Women's Network. Listen to her and we'll get your response on the backside.
Fairfax County Public Schools is willfully keeping information and secrets from parents regarding really important things like their children's gender identity. And I know that it's parents who have the best interest of their children at heart, period.
Yeah, Nicole, is there really a debate about who's better suited to raise kids, the schools or the parents? Because in most people's minds, there's not, and yet here we are.
There is not a debate, and this is backed up by over a century of American jurisprudence that parents have a clearly established right to direct the upbringing of their children. So the fact that in 2023, a public school district paid for with taxpayer dollars believes that it is duty-bound to undermine that parent-child relationship is appalling, and as Stephanie said before, is both immoral and unconstitutional.
Yeah, and you look at this thing, Bill, and you think, this is one of those things where if your kid was in a school and the school said, listen, we want to keep secrets from you, you would be appalled at that. We have never seen that in the history of this country, and yet now you have all these blue states saying this is the way it's going to be.
Well, there's a good reason for that, too. Keeping secrets is generally a bad idea, especially from parents. My background is in mental health besides being a mayor, and I can tell you that kids are in a stage where they're differentiating from their parents right now. And when you give them the opportunity to work with them to differentiate from their parents and say, we can do something that your parents really won't like and we'll keep it secret, it makes kids move towards this idea more than they normally would, which could have unbelievably bad repercussions later in life.
Yeah, Nicole, I just want to take it one step further and we'll move on topics, but it's not just keeping secrets, it's keeping secrets from just the parents, because everybody at school knows, the school knows, all their friends know, it's only the parents that don't know.
Right. It's pitting children against their parents, really damaging that relationship in perpetuity. And frighteningly, this is one of over 1,000 districts we have found across the country that have these policies on the books. That impacts over 10 million children and counting. So this is something that coast to coast parents need to be aware of and be worried about.
FoxNews.com writes, talking about in California in the legislature, SB 596 would expand the terms of an existing law barring parents from disrupting classrooms and extracurricular activities where a school employee is present to now include off-campus activities where school employees are present, such as school board meetings. So now are board members in jeopardy, Bill? I mean, are they being harmed? Are they being harassed? There's no evidence of any of that. They're just going after parents.
Well, I tell you what's in jeopardy is democracy. You know, I'll put on my mayor's hat, the ability to come to a council meeting and to speak at a council meeting and have yourself heard by the council. It's a big part of the Constitution about the American way of life. And by criticizing freedom of speech and stopping people from having the ability to do that is really taking a massive amount of what it means to be an American away.
Yeah, 15 seconds for you, Nicole, to kind of wrap us up. What they're doing here is they're targeting parents, just like they did in Virginia and just like they're doing in other states.
We saw the National School Board Association do this. We've seen elected officials do this across the country. The consent of the governed we're not a speed bump. It's actually part of the process, so shame on them.
Yeah, Nicole Neily, Bill Wells, thank you both.